Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of She's Got GAWL. This is the podcast series brought to you by the Georgia Association for Women Lawyers, and I am Ebony Phillips, your host. I am excited because we are in the midst of our Trailblazer series, and we are calling it She Was the First, Conversations with Women Trailblazers. And just to put a little context to it, whenever we start a series or whenever we decide sort of where we're going to go as far as topics on the podcast, we kind of just take the temperature of our membership and our listeners and the like. And one of the things that we were hearing quite a bit was people need a roadmap, people need a model, people need some place to sort of aim for. And then they also want some instruction on how to get there. And so that's how the Trailblazer series actually came about. And let me just tell you, tonight, y'all are in for a treat. We have with us Justice Leah Ward Sears, who many know, just even if I say the name, I don't even need to read her bio because everybody knows all the wonderful things that she's done in our profession. But just to be formal and to do it the right way, I would like to read her bio. And then she's going to share with us a lot of the trailblazer type things that you may not know, and then some that you may know, but also the way that she got to where she is, and then also some advice for those of us who are not where she is, but are looking to go where she's been. So I will start by reading her bio. Justice Leah Ward Sears is currently a partner with the law firm of Smith, Gambrell, and Russell, LLP, where she is a member of the law firm's executive committee, as well as the business litigation and appellate practices. Justice Sears was the first woman to serve as a Fulton County Superior Court judge. She was also the first woman and the youngest person to ever serve on the Georgia Supreme Court when she was appointed by former Governor Zell Miller in 1992. In retaining her position on the Georgia Supreme Court, Justice Sears also became the first woman to win a contested statewide election in Georgia. Born in Heidelberg, Germany, Justice Sears spent many of her formative years in Savannah, Georgia. She obtained her bachelor's degree from Cornell University and her law degree from Emory University Law School. In 1995, Justice Sears obtained an LLM from the University of Virginia in appellate judicial process. She holds honorary degrees from Spelman, Clark Atlanta, Piedmont, LaGrange, Morehouse, and Savannah State Colleges and Universities, as well as John Marshall Law School. Justice Sears began her career with the law firm of Austin and Bird, but left private practice after 5 years to begin a career in public service as a judge with the City Court of Atlanta. Once appointed to the Georgia Supreme Court in 1992, Justice Sears continued her commitment to service to the people and the state. She spearheaded innovative programs such as the Georgia Supreme Court's Commission on Children, Marriage, and Family Law, addressing the legal and administrative issues resulting from the increasing fragmentation of Georgia families. Justice Sears was also instrumental in the formation of the Committee on Civil Justice, an organization that develops, coordinates, and supports policy initiatives to expand access to the courts for low-income Georgia residents. Justice Sears' commitment to the law is further exemplified by her role as past chair of the American Bar Association Board of Elections and the judicial section of the Atlanta Bar Association, where she also served as chair of the Minority Clerkship Program. Justice Sears is founder and the first president of the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys, an organization serving the needs of Black women attorneys, advocating for women and children, and empowering Georgia's communities. Justice Sears was twice on the president's shortlist for appointment to the United States Supreme Court. She has consistently been on the list of Georgia super lawyers, a distinction for Georgia's preeminent attorneys who attain a high degree of peer recognition and professional achievement. Justice Sears is also a fellow of the prestigious American Academy of Appellate Lawyers, an invitation-only organization whose membership is limited to 500 lawyers and is open exclusively to persons who possess a reputation of recognized distinction as an appellate lawyer. Additionally, Justice Sears contributes her talents in academia. She serves on the Board of Trustees for Emory University and the Carter Center. She previously served on the Board of Visitors of Mercer University Law School and the Emory University Law School Council. She has also taught a course on pretrial litigation as an adjunct professor at Emory University Law School and the University of Georgia School of Law. In addition, she was an advisory board member of the Albany Law Review and the honors program at North Georgia College. Justice Sears is equally committed to the community at large. She is the founder of the Battered Women's Project in Columbus, Georgia. She has also served on the board of directors of such organizations as the Woodruff Art Center, the Sadie G. Mays Nursing Home, and the Georgia chapter of the National Council of Christians and Jews. In addition, she continues to be involved with the Atlanta chapter of the Links Incorporated and Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. A biography of Leah Ward Sears entitled Seizing Serendipity was written by Professor Rebecca Davis and was published by the University of Georgia Press in September 2017. Justice Sears was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award at the ADL Southeast 2021 Virtual Jurisprudence Luncheon on April 13, 2021. In 2009, Justice Sears retired from the Supreme Court of Georgia after 27 years of service on the bench. Justice Sears is the daughter of Mrs. Ani Jean Sears and the late Colonel Thomas E. Sears. She is married to Haskell Sears Ward and is also the proud mother of son Addison and daughter Brennan. Welcome, Justice Leah Sears. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Ebony. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm really flattered. Thank you.
This is quite an honor, not just for me as hosting the program, but also for our listeners, because we know that it is trailblazers like yourself that sort of give us the roadmap. And many of us have dreams, we have aspirations, but we just need sort of that nudge in the right direction, or the sort of, yeah, if you want to be this, then don't do that, probably. Or if you're thinking of doing this, then you may want to consider that. And it's funny because I was looking at, I mean, you've done enough for a book to be written about your life, which speaks volumes. And so it's looking, and the name of the book is, as I mentioned, Seizing Serendipity. And I was looking at the intro and kind of scanning through it, and I thought, wow, this is deep. And just to take a little piece of it, it says, how does a young Black woman in the Deep South, saddled with the twin electoral handicaps of race and sex, convince the majority of a state's voting populace to elect her to office 4 times? How especially can she carry off this feat as a Supreme Court justice, often obligated to issue unpopular opinions to protect the constitutional rights of minority groups? Good fortune certainly plays a role. Our fate is helped or hindered by nature and nurture, but genetics and geography by the era in which we live. So too does our preparation for the lucky break and our recognition of and reaction to opportunity. The choices we make and the skill and effort we put into achieving our goals are at least as important as the luck of the draw. And then the author goes on to say, while Sears frequently managed to be in the right place at the right time, she spent decades preparing for those moments. And I think sometimes when we see people who've made the climb, the kind of climb that you've made and achieved what you've achieved, we see the acceptance speech or read the plaque. There's not always an appreciation for all that it takes to get there, right? And when your biographer says that you spent decades preparing for those moments, I thought, okay, well, that makes more sense, because serendipity kind of seems like good fortune or you had good luck or whatever. And we know, of course, that that wasn't the case. But in reading that, I was curious. Did you always know that you were going to be the first woman on the Georgia Supreme Court? Was that ever a goal? Did you know that you? Yeah.
No, Ebony, it wasn't. So I asked the biographer when she was writing, why are you naming this book such a weird name, like Seizing Serendipity?
Right.
Because she could see. I didn't write the book. A professor wrote the book.
Right.
And she followed me for 10 years, writing the book.
Wow.
And she would pop up here and pop up there and be talking to my cousin and or something like that. And she said that she noticed that when opportunities came, I seized them. Okay. Not that, it was always luck of the draw, because it absolutely wasn't luck of the draw. but I jumped on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably so. And I don't know, I think it's just a DNA thing. I always knew, and I always thought everybody knew this, but the older I get, I understand most people don't. But I always knew that I wanted to be at least somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, and all my behavior, even, I was born in 1955. It was laughable that a black girl born in 1955 would ascend to the
Right.
state of Georgia Supreme Court in the D. So laughable. I mean, when
Right.
my father, when I was elected as Superior Court judge, I think my father passed out. I was like 32. He couldn't,
Wow.
born in
Yeah.
1927, he just couldn't.
Right. Right.
The change was so much. It was his daughter, not his son, and I'm still black, and
Right.
all this kind of stuff.
Right.
What I did do is my choices was as if I was going to, go as high as I could get.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was very careful. I wasn't perfect. I didn't do, but I was as careful as I thought I could be. And
Yeah.
still, I worked very hard, very studious, tried to be as careful as I could about choosing a partner. I just was careful,
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah. And so we met for the first time many, many years ago when I was still in law school.
couldn't be that long. You look like 25. It couldn't have been that long.
Well, I appreciate you so much for saying that. I receive it. I receive it. I receive it.
Okay.
But I was still in law school, and at that time, I was interning for then Chief Justice Benham at the
Okay.
Georgia Supreme Court, and so we interacted, even though I wasn't your intern, on some levels, and it was, I want to find the right word. Watching you, right? Like, so we were the interns were already impressed to be in that space and to be in a space of that magnitude. And if you've never actually been down to the Georgia Supreme Court to sort of see all of it really does, especially the first couple times you go in, evoke a number of feelings. And you're proud, you're proud to be there and all the things. And three things that I always noticed about you, just how open and engaging you were, because we were like, oh my gosh, there's Justice Sears, but the second thing that I took note of was how incredibly smart you are. And that piece kind of dovetails into the third thing, which was, as smart as you are, you just had a way of, whether it was reviewing, y'all were discussing bench briefs or whatever the justices might be doing, or if you're hearing oral arguments. That third thing, though, is what I think I took away the most from, which was, although you have a very keen intellect, you had this way of not making the other people in the room feel unsmart, right? If that makes sense. Like,
well, that's easy but first off, thank you, Ebony, for saying I am smart, really smart. So and I know that, but I'm 67 years old now, and it's only been in the last it's like 10 years or so that I really understand my gifts. I'm not smart about everything. I don't get everything, but I do know I have a certain intellect in certain ways, in certain things. I think, no one's a genius at everything. People are sort of this or that, or And I won't even speak about my gifts because I'm afraid if I do, God will take them away. I don't know. It's some honestly, need to be humble about
absolutely.
It. Yeah,
absolutely.
or I will lose it, wake up, and I won't be that way anymore.
Right.
But I believe, and I truly do believe this, that every single person has a glimmer of genius. Everybody, they just have to find it and lean on it and go in that direction and not put their light. I think women in particular will take their gifts or put their genius under a lamp just to conform.
Right.
And they lose their gift. If that makes sense. So the issue is to acknowledge your gift, not be afraid of it, and run with it. Whatever, you gotta run with it and not let it, not hide from it, not be afraid to let it shine. Like, you know that song, "This Little Light of Mine."
Right.
Let the light shine. Don't put it under a jar.
So you said something interesting about how women will sometimes feel like they need to shrink a little bit to conform or whatever.
I mean, we're taught to do that.
Yeah. And I was just wondering, in all the firsts that you've accomplished, since you mentioned that, do you think that the road to becoming the first or to becoming whatever is different for men and women?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's harder, because not just different, I'll just say it's harder.
Yeah.
Because even as I was, first off, I'm a Black woman, so I had all this unconscious bias about, I can't be that smart, because Blacks just aren't that smart, can't possibly be. So one of the reasons I was really proud to practice with Justice Benham, because he's smart too. He really is.
He is.
And he's got good ideas and keen intellect. It was just marvelous.
Yeah.
Because you don't really have an opportunity to dance with other African Americans.
Right.
A lot of them, once.
Right.
So, where was I going with this thread? That women, if you succeed, are still expected, to do all the women stuff too.
Right.
When I was Chief Justice, for example, I might have a meeting with the governor, but I needed to call my mother every day, make sure my kids got to school on time.
Right.
Even now, my mother has dementia. She's very ill. She's in a nursing. I'm her only daughter. Okay. My job is to work my butt off at Smith, Gambrell, and Russell, but I also have an obligation. I'm a caregiver now. Right. In a way that some men are, okay, but women are expected to be. And so I work a hard job. I do these podcasts. And I'll do another one next week for somebody else in the evening, okay, on the weekend. And then works at Smith, Gambrell, Russell, do a CLE, and then I've got to go make sure my mother's being taken care of. Right. I don't have a wife. I have a husband, very good guy, but he's just not expected to do all that.
Right. That's an excellent point. And so we talked about the first that you've accomplished, and there are numerous. So with that in mind, was there added professional pressure? Like once you started becoming the first at all these things, was there added professional pressure or maybe more scrutiny on you, once you achieve those things? And if so, how did you handle that?
It was added a lot more scrutiny. I don't know about professional pressure. It was maybe internal pressure, from me, that because I knew that there were women that looked like me coming after me, and I could not fail, because if I failed, then there wouldn't be another woman that looked like me for a very, very long time. Right. So I felt like I was often walking a tightrope. It was stressful. Okay, so yes, because if a white guy fails, for example, not all the other white guys are judged. Right. The white woman, But if a Black woman fails, we're all messed up. I mean,
Right.
that's the unconscious bias of our society right now.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think is some of the best career advice you've ever received?
Um, be careful who you choose as your life partner, whether
Ooh.
it's a male or a female or whatever you do, because in the case of, you know, picking a husband, men will say they're supportive, but make sure you understand what that really means.
Mm.
Have a child or two or three. Who's going to be, are they really going to take off from work? Are they really going to support you? Are they going to,
Right.
quote, help you? Which I think is bunk. Or are they
Right.
going to, yeah, are they going to really be? I think most men, even minority men, have a privilege. There's a sort of a
Mm-hmm.
male
Mm-hmm.
privilege. And there's
Mm-hmm.
an expectation that there's to be catered to in certain ways,
Right.
and
Right.
it can be oppressive for the woman they're with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be very, just you got to choose very wisely.
And so that's so interesting. But I guess if you could give your 25-year-old self some advice, right? What would you tell yourself at 25?
That it's all going to be all right.
Oh, that's so
It's all,
deep.
yeah, it's all it. I stressed way more than I needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think maybe I just had to, because I had, there was a lot of work to be done. But I think for everybody, if you just put your nose to the grindstone, do the work on yourself personally, make the moves you need. If you don't have a job that you like, get another job. And if
Yeah.
you don't like that job, get another job.
Right.
And keep seeking. And if you keep seeking, you will find, and it's all going to be all right. It all
Mm.
works out in the end, even though it may not work out the way we want it to work out, or but it all works out.
So what about situations? Because you said if you don't like your job, get another job. Keep seeking, keep going, keep climbing, I suppose. There have been conversations lately, particularly as pertains to women, about even maybe not just finding another job, but finding another profession altogether. Like they just
Right.
don't want to be a lawyer anymore. And people are saying, but wait, you went to school all those years, then you went to law school, and you've been trying to climb the partnership track for so long. You're going to quote unquote just throw it all away because you're a little bit tired, or because you're a little bit frustrated, or you're what is your take on that?
Do your thing yourself. Everybody has one life.
Yes.
Okay? And it's not for anyone to live somebody else's life. And
Right.
I don't consider every experience you have is a valuable experience, whether it's failure or not, whatever. Okay, or rising to the highest thing. So I don't think anyone gets to choose for you. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom, that's fine. If you want to take your law degree and open up a rib shack, that's fine too. Or be a baker. It's hard finding what lights you up. But
Yeah.
a real good life should be a life that lights you up, makes you happy. Find your bliss. Make yourself happy. If you want to drive NASCAR, do that. Whatever.
I like it, NASCAR, because that's about as far away from the practice of law as you could possibly get. But I think you're right. If that's what makes you happy and makes you excited about getting up in the morning. But I think to your earlier point, though, women are just kind of told to conform and to be in a little box, even to, our own disenchantment. We'll stay in situations just because that is what the societal norm is at that particular point. And
that too.
Yeah.
And it takes courage to buck, to be a little different. But it also is, but you want to live your best life. You only get one.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are a lot of
Alston, it was Alston and Bird we first started Alston, Miller and Gaines and Alston and Bird, to take half the money
Right.
with the Ivy League credentials going to the Atlanta traffic court. People thought I was nuts.
Right.
But I had decided that I liked the interaction in the courtroom. I liked being there. I liked being with the people and all that. And I thought that, it's time for me to go. And I'll just, I had my second child at the court. It was a half-day thing. It worked for me. You don't need to follow anyone else's plan. You need to make your own plan.
Yeah. What do you think was the most challenging part of some of the, and not necessarily about the journey to the Supreme Court, because I know we talked about that quite a bit here, but any of the firsts that you accomplished, what do you think was the most challenging part of the journey to getting that? Because that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
I think racism, people thinking that I got it because, not because of hard work, but because, I don't know, an affirmative action type thing. We needed a Black here or a Black there. And then the insecurity I had for so long about wondering, do I measure up? Am I just an affirmative action type hire? And I married my husband, Haskell Ward, who told me once, he's a lot older than I am, damn it, you deserve to be where you are. You should have, people like you should have been there years and years and years ago. Seize it and stop walking around, please, I want some more kind of type. You deserve the money that you make. You deserve to drive a nice car. You deserve it just like the guy who's in the office next to you, and stop begging. Stop feeling unworthy, really.
Yeah. So many of us listening, if not all, have a tremendous admiration for you, for everything that you've accomplished, and being just such a great model for us, because there weren't, a lot of that kind of thing going on, especially way back and when. But who is a woman trailblazer that you admire, and why? Like, who do you look up to?
When people ask me that, the woman I most admire is, I admire a lot of women. I mean,
sure,
they're just, oh my goodness. But I think my hero or shero is Sojourner Truth. She just, she put it on the line in a way I never did or could.
Yeah.
Getting free, coming back, bringing people out, coming back.
Right.
Yeah, that's somebody to admire.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. We're going to wrap in a couple minutes, but I did want to ask you, because we feel like, you've done so much, we feel like we kind of know you. But what is something that might be a little known fact about you that maybe our audience wouldn't just readily know from picking up your bio or picking up your biography or hearing you speak?
I'm very, very close to my mother, who's not well now, and my daughter. I like to shop at thrift stores.
Really?
Yeah, because I've been at thrift stores sometimes, and I, going through the racks, which oh my God, a bargain is the bargain. Remember, I was in public service for so long that I had to pay for Woodward Academy.
Right.
And I remember somebody saying more than once, Justice Sears, is that you? Which I always kind of enjoyed. So I like high tea at the Four Seasons.
Yes.
Not a little quirky. But those aren't in my bio.
Well, Justice Sears,
I love my husband. Been married twice. I love my husband. I have a dog who I understand was just told by a Facebook friend is a Mississippi blackmouth cur.
Oh,
he's real cute. He sort of has a Batman eye look. I almost adopt him because I thought, oh, that is weird. But when I saw the person, I was like, oh, I have to have you.
Oh,
yeah, really cute.
So Justice Sears, what types of things did you get at the thrift store?
Any bargain I could find. I mean, honestly, bags. And
Yeah.
when my son was at Woodward Academy, I could go there and get blazers because I was on a budget, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't go into the gift shop where the blazers were like, I can afford it now, but on the
Sure.
Supreme Court I can't, so
Right.
I would get his blue blazers. I'd get like 5. They would be $5.99 a piece.
Wow.
And then I would sew the patch on, late at night.
Yeah.
You'd be good to go.
Wow.
When you grow up, I wasn't, I grew up, I was like middle class, straight up middle class. So I know how to shop. I know how to clean house. I know
Right.
how to hire. I can do all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I am really, really surprised. I'm gonna have to say that your thrift stop, of all the things that you said we may not know, I'm going with thrift shop as my favorite one of all the ones that you mentioned.
It's just fun, and you're not going to spend a lot of money.
Yeah,
A little doodads. It's a good way to let off some steam for me without going broke.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I have enjoyed talking to you. I am so thrilled that you said yes when we invited you to come on. Being the first woman to serve as a Fulton County Superior Court judge, if that wasn't enough, the youngest person to ever serve on the Georgia Supreme Court, the first woman to serve on that court, the first woman to win a contested statewide election in Georgia, one of the founders of the preeminent Association for Black Women in Georgia, the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys. We call it GAWL. And then the first president of that organization. I don't know if there's much left, but I'm sure if there is, you're going to find it and you're going to excel like you always do. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to have you. And maybe I'll bump into you at a thrift store at some point.
Maybe so. We could go to Goodwill together.
Thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of She's Got GAWL. This has been Justice Leah Ward Sears telling us all about how to be our best selves and how to do our best shopping, as it were. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Thank you so much.